Hello there, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Today, I'm going to be playing in the Centurion Action 10, and I am going to try and get the high ground against my opponents. Of course, when you're playing the Tier 10 British medium tank, being above and beyond everyone else, it just goes with the nationality, right, old boy? British people, pompous people looking down on tanks, and when you've got an incredible turret, like you do on the Centurion Action 10, if you can take a chance to be able to get above people on the hill, to have the high ground, then yeah, I guess you can kind of roleplay a little bit. So playing on mines here in a very nice matchup, I don't even have to worry about any artillery. I was practically salivating at the prospect of what I was going to be able to achieve should I have taken the top of the hill, which we have done. But oh dear, of course, it has to be a French tank that decides to ruin the dreams of the British vehicle. Of course, the Foch decides to ammo-rack me after I had to blow my repair kit going up on top of the hill because I was incredibly worried about being tracked there or even just getting caught up. It's definitely the most dangerous part of the game if you're trying to pressure mines. So the Centurion Action 10, while it still has not the worst damage per minute, any vehicle while ammo-racked does feel a little bit lackluster. And oh, can you imagine if we'd been able to get so many more shells at this crucial moment of the game. When you're playing on encounter, if you can get into this position on either team, you can really stop the enemy from being able to even just get into it. Now, if I was playing on the enemy team, I would actually try and focus up instead into this location that you see over here. This position is incredibly strong. Just be careful you don't go too far back because you can get shot by tank destroyers in that corner, and be careful you don't go too far back and isolate yourself against vehicles like this. Well, there's 5100 down below. Now the Centurion Action 10, big old hull, so in that kind of a position, definitely wouldn't be as good as the one that you see now. In this position here, and what was that? Who jumped up to protect that Soviet medium tank from taking that 105mm shell to the hull there, right? But goodness gracious, that accuracy, that .32 British accuracy, definitely getting the job done against the Foch's lower plate there. Some medium tanks, you just don't feel certain about where the shells are going to go, and you'd either have to load gold rounds, or you'd have to have a bigger weak point to be able to shoot at. This vehicle, it's not the best at anything, as you would have seen from my tank review a few weeks ago, or even maybe a couple of months ago. I don't know about you, but this year seems to be... I'm not sure if this year is 5 minutes long, or if this year is 5 years long. Some ways it feels like the longest year ever, and some ways it feels like the shortest year ever, right? Bizarre. But anyway, so my tank review on the Centurion Action 10, from however long it was ago, I meant to release it when I meant to release it, right? Showed that the vehicle is well-rounded, but it's just not exceptional at anything. But in this position, on top of the hill, you have all of the tools needed at your disposal to just completely work your opponents. And this cheeky Foch, we're just going to lock him down. And then what I'm thinking, okay, so I've locked him down in this position. Maybe I can swing over to the left, and now I can hit his tracks again from here. But unfortunately, it looks like they had a repair kit, and they were able to fix it and get those tracks back on to get back into safety. So 10 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle means that I've just got the flexibility that I need to be able to work this ridge line. And really, this is just turning into an absolute slaughter at this part of the game. This round, it's not so much about having the incredible long-winded game super close, but to see what you can do through knowledge of the different positions, specifically on mines in this completely overpowered location, the more that I think about it, on encounter, to just deny the enemy to be able to get towards the cap circle. And a good thing too, if I wasn't here, they would have probably capped out by now. All of my vehicles gone down the west would have probably done just that, not contested the cap circle. But I have to admit, every time I get a game like this in the Centurion Action 10, I'm always kind of joking around on the stream thinking, oh yeah, this game's not going to go very well because I'm in Centurion Action 10, right? And then for some reason, it just keeps on giving. It's definitely got one of my lowest win ratios of any of my tier 10 medium tanks because of the huge hull. You can't play that kind of aggressive heavy tank role. But for something that manages to just get on a ridgeline and completely dominate, yeah, there are pretty much no better vehicles, I'd say, at tier 10 medium. Yeah, apart from probably, actually, that might be an exaggeration. Apart from the UDES. The UDES has got higher alpha damage and better turret armor. The STB-1, more gun depression and a better rate of fire, and still the same kind of penetration with the gold rounds. as long as you don't need to fire the Hesh that this vehicle has. So right now I'm thinking, okay, how can I get as much as I possibly can out of this game? So let's lock down the tracks of the Lerva. But you can see, because of that cash register noise, well, at least it would be making a cash register noise, as from my video yesterday on the KV3, the Lerva had an increased hit points total. They had 1,820 hit points, meaning that they are using a durability module increase, so we're unable to take the tracks off with a single shot. Oh dear, the gun handling of the Centurion Action 10, even with vertical stabilizers that I use on this vehicle, unable to hit the hull armor of the Jagdtiger as they're making their way into position, but luckily we're able to splash a Hesh round there onto the tracks of the Jagdtiger, locking them down and starting to allow my allies to go to work on them. We're going to fire one more Hesh round, and now we're thinking, should I fire up into the lower plate, or should I go up through the tracks into the hull of the tank? You can actually see for a second there, eventually we did shoot the lower plate, but we could have gone up through the tracks and up into kind of these underflaps that go onto down the side of the Jagdtiger, or at least the hull that is over the tracks. And you can actually, if you get really underneath a vehicle like that, not only can you manage to track them, but you can also manage to damage them at the same time. And that is just the absolute pinnacle of World of Tanks domination, if you're able to do that against your opponents. So 6 minutes, 6,500 damage, 1,200 spotting, 3 kills. Who would have thought that being above your opponents in vehicles was just so dominant, right? Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not exactly it's not rocket science here. I'm not discovering something new, but sometimes it's worth highlighting the basics, and it's worth getting the high ground and turning your opponents into a bunch of Anakins. Short game, big impact here for the Centurion Action 10. We picked up an ace for the 1,278 base experience. That's 6,500 damage. Gives us a high caliber. And a Confederate as well for damaging at least 6 of our opponents that were subsequently killed by our team. And even a Scout medal for detecting, how many was it exactly? 10, i.e. 2/3 of the enemy team. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, apologies that today's video is going to be a little bit shorter than usual, but that's because, yeah, a certain Xbox Series X was just released today, and I'm planning on putting it through its paces today on stream. I'm going to play a little bit of World of Tanks console, although I have no idea what kind of vehicles I have on my main account, and maybe even a little bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Looking forward to it today. It feels like it's Christmas early for me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video either way. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments, what version of World of Tanks do you play? Do you play PC? You can tell us the server that you play on as well. Do you play Blitz? Do you play console? I'd like to get an idea of what version of World of Tanks my community are playing. Or even if you're one of those weird people who just like watching my videos even though you don't play World of Tanks, let me know that as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.